I want to bring in our company now, Jami Floyd and Princella Smith. Jami, let me start with you. Clinton domestic policy advisor. So this is the time when Don't Ask, Don't Tell came in. Has the time come for change, or are we really not that much further along, especially given the numbers in this study that show combat troops and Marines are much more reluctant about this repeal?
Don't ask, don't tell, don't delay. 17 years we've been talking about don't ask, don't tell. As you say, it was a Clinton administration policy. It was actually the wrong policy, and I say this as a member of the administration that passed Don't Ask, Don't Tell with great resistance, actually. President Clinton wanted gays to serve in the military, but was backed into Don't Ask, Don't Tell by Republicans who did not want gays to serve at the time. It is no longer, as Kelly just reported, a partisan issue. John McCain himself, the ranking member, said, let's wait until this report comes out. The report clearly suggests that gays should be permitted to serve in the military, that we should not have a Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. And yes, the services should determine, but it should be leadership. And Secretary Gates has said that with the right leadership, the services can lead the rank and file in the right direction on this issue.
17 years, Princella, is a very long time, and also the details of this report, frankly, have been leaking out for more than a month now. But John McCain says he and his staff have only had 36 hours to look at it. They need more time. He is arguably the most influential, certainly the most influential member of this committee in this debate. Is he being disingenuous, or is he right? Does he need some more time to really think about this, to look at the details of the report?
No, Chris. I mean, I think Senator McCain has a point, and you have to remember where this all started. This started with an inexperienced presidential candidate who was out making political promises to try to make sure that he could win over a certain block of voters, and he didn't really give much thought to, I guess for lack of a better word, the ramifications of bringing up something that really has not been a problem. This is a volunteer force, and so the main thing that we've got to remember with these young men and women serving is that morale is a key issue here. And so what we've got to focus on is making sure that they are equipped, that they're put in the best situations possible to perform.
But what's the indication in this report? I guess the argument is the clear indication, the clear finding in this report is that morale would not be affected. In fact, most service members and their families feel comfortable about this.
Well, see, I mean, that's kind of the point, Chris, is, you know, we've now all of a sudden opened up a can of worms, and we've turned this into a social issue and a fight. And it's actually ironic because that's what the left criticized the right for back in 2004. You know, we really need to make sure that we're focusing on issues such as the economy, such as our energy policy, immigration policy.
We can't do both at the same time.
The reason why people spoke in 2010, yeah, but we're in a lame duck session, and now you got people trying to push through things that, you know, that they're trying to get done at the last minute. I just think it's irresponsible.
John McCain is the one, Princella, who's saying let's have even more hearings. So it's not as if, you know.
And to be fair, John McCain is the one who said that we should wait for this report to come out. We waited. It's out, and it suggests very clearly that we should go ahead and repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, of course, methodically and with the leadership in place to guide the young rank and file, and that's who Princella is talking about, the rank and file, who have had the numbers show they know they've been serving with gay service men and women, and it has not affected morale.
Well, it's going to be interesting tomorrow in particular when we hear from the Marine Commandant, who does have some real concerns about this. Princella Smith, Jami Floyd, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Men in the audience, take a look at your hands right now. If your index finger is longer than your ring finger, you might have a lower risk for prostate cancer. In fact, a new British study finds men with longer index fingers were 33% less likely to have prostate cancer. I'm joined now by New York Emergency Room Dr. Alexis Halpern. Good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you, Chris.
Okay, so we're talking about this in our staff meeting, and even the women are looking at their hands. It sounds kind of weird, but is there a scientific basis for this? I assume there is.
There is, in that what studies have shown is that second to fourth digit ratio is an indication of how much testosterone exposure you've had prenatally, with the idea being that more exposure to testosterone may increase your risk of prostate cancer later in life. So if your second digit is shorter than your fourth digit.
Richard's staring at his. How's he looking?
I've been looking at it throughout this entire session here. Am I okay?
His second digit is just a little bit longer than his first digit, which would be an indication of less testosterone exposure prenatally, which would give him
this one versus that one.
Exactly, which would give him a decreased risk of prostate cancer in his future. So that's a pretty good one.
I mean, the numbers are pretty shocking. 36,000 men diagnosed with prostate cancer every year. 10,000 die from the disease. What's the practical implication besides all of us sitting around and looking at our hands, whether we're likely?
Which we've been doing.
Yeah.
Well, what it's going to do, I think, eventually, is impact screening. Right now, there are indications, there are guidelines for screening for prostate cancer. And what they are is that men over the age of 50 should have a digital rectal exam and a PSA test, which is a prostate-specific antigen test, which is a blood test, annually after the age of 50.
But if you have this indication, then maybe you should be screened more often. Is that what might happen?
That is what the question is going to be now. I think that men are going to look at their hands today, and a lot of them are going to wonder if they should be running to their doctors. I think there are specific risk factors that make certain men get the testing done earlier.
And what would those be?
Your family history. So if you have a father or a brother with prostate cancer. Also, it's been shown that in African American men in the United States, they have a higher incidence of prostate cancer, so those people might have their screening started earlier.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I'll sort of bring Christia into this too. Do you find as an ER doctor, whether it's something about the prostate or anything at all, a lot of times it's the women who push? I'm sorry, Jamie. It's the women who push the men to come in for things a lot of times?
I would say that just like everything else in life.
So, Jamie, are you going to go home and be checking all the men in your life?
I checked the minute the report came out.
You did, really?
Oh, absolutely. But I am curious about prostate cancer, because isn't it true that when you get to a certain age, even if you're diagnosed, it may be unnecessary to treat prostate cancer?
I think my father had prostate cancer for like 20 years.
Yeah, my dad's been diagnosed, but he's 85 years old.
Yes, and that's one of the big things about screening. So sometimes prostate cancer doesn't cause symptoms. It doesn't cause any health problems. With this increased screening, if men are running to the doctor saying, my second digit is shorter, I want to be screened, now we find the potential, is that going to then increase treatment in people who won't necessarily need it? That's why it's a little bit difficult.
I ran over to my husband and started staring at his hands, and he swatted me away, knowing full well what I was doing, because he'd heard the same report I'd heard.
And not to make light of it, though, I'd rather be checking my fingers than some of the other tests you have to go through at a certain age. So,
but I don't think, I have to say, and I would not recommend that looking at your hand and finding that your second digit is longer would make you say, oh, forget it, I don't have to go get screened this year.
Very good point.
I think that we still need to take the screening guidelines seriously the way that they are right now.
As millions of guys are doing this across the country.
Yes. Jamie Floyd, best to you and your husband. Richard Louie seems to be okay, but you're not off the hook totally.
You just wanted to hear from my hands, that's all.
Dr. Halpern, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Chris.